got it backwards. I'm off to a great start. Well, yes, my name's George, and I just got here from California about a month ago. And this is a story called Birch, B-U-R-T-C-H. I almost fell asleep on the highway coming home from work. I fought to keep my eyes open, but still they closed. And when they opened again, I was halfway in another lane. Thankfully, there were no cars around. By the time I got off the highway, it was almost 4 in the morning. I pulled my white Trooper into the last gas station before the city fell away and the town I lived in took over. The gas station was on the left side of the road, across from a white-painted preschool that stood in a patch of dirt on the corner. The two roofs standing over the gas pumps were neon blue, and the sign was too. There were no cars at the pumps. There was only one car in the far corner of the station, by the garage, tucked in a shadow. I crossed the street and pulled up to one of the pumps. I got out, sweating through my black shirt. I walked up to the window. The dark-skinned, gray-haired man behind the thick glass was slumped over in his chair. I could hear him snoring through the silver speaker in the glass. I looked at his name tag. Javed, it said. I knocked. He didn't wait. I knocked again and slowly he came to. His eyes were red and there were dark, heavy bags under them. I saw him almost every time I went to that station, no matter what time of day or night it was. I figured he owned the place. 20 on 2, I said. I put the cash in the metal box and he pulled it inside. He put the money into the register. Receipt? He mumbled. No, I said. Thank you. He nodded. My eyes burned. I walked back to my Trooper. When I got to the pump, I felt something to my left. I looked out across the station and saw a man pacing about by the other pumps. I started filling the tank and he started walking towards me. I watched him get bigger until finally he was right in front of me, only steps away. He was a big-boned man with dry, sun-spotted skin, yellow teeth, messy yellow hair, and an H-shaped head. His eyes and nose and mouth were small, and he wore a pair of light blue overalls with no shirt underneath, and black boots, the laces all undone. I watched the numbers roll up on the pump, then looked back at the man. I looked at his overalls and noticed that in his chest pocket was a pencil with a worn eraser. Good morning, he said, smiling. The man had a dumb glow to his face. Good morning, I said. Listen, I said, wanting only to hang up the nozzle in my hand and get home and get to bed. I don't have any change on me. I looked back at the numbers on the pump, rolling slowly upward. No, he said, I don't need any. He dropped his head and shoulders. I'm sorry, I said. I'm just tired. What is it that you need? He raised his head and looked at me. I was just wondering if you'd smile, he said. If you'd smile for me, when you think of me, if you ever do. It doesn't have to be now, just some other time, if you think of me again. No one ever smiled for me before, he said, and no one does now. And I was just wondering. I took time with what he said. I couldn't bring myself to smile right then, but I promised him I would. His face brightened. You will? I will, he said. He smiled, took a deep breath, stepped closer, extended his hand, and I shook it. His palm was sweaty. This means a whole lot, he said. A whole lot. Thank you, sir. I nodded. The gas was done. I took the nozzle out and hung it back on the pump. The man was standing a few steps back now. He was pacing again, but in a smaller space. He talked to himself, then looked back at me. You have a good night, sir, he said. Morning, I mean. He laughed. I'm dog-tired, too. He turned and started walking away. Say, I yelled. What's your name? The man stopped, faced me. Mine, he asked. Yes, I said. He walked back over to me, straightened himself, and extended his hand again. Birch, he said. I'm Birch Baker from Firewood, California. I gave him my name and wished him well. He turned and started on his way. He crossed the empty station, came onto the sidewalk, then disappeared. I hopped back in my Trooper, pulled out onto the main road, slowed, and looked his way. He was nowhere to be seen. As I drove, I thought of his face, how sad it got and how bright again. I looked into the rear-view mirror. The road behind me was empty and dark, and I could hardly see the lines in the middle of it.